When it comes to alternate versions of a comic book character from different parts of their respective multiverses, the Joker is by far one of DC's most prominent villains to get a multiversal makeover. Multiple times. There are a slew of alternate versions of the Clown Prince of Crime that have popped up over the years from other Earths, Elseworld stories, and ones that have even spawned from the Joker of the regular universe himself. Today, we are taking a look at a particular aspect of these iterations, the top 10 scary Joker alternate versions. And let's be frank about something. No matter what, the Joker is a horrifying character. A beloved one, no doubt, but as far as villains go, he's high up on the that's pure evil spectrum. And yes, that is a spectrum I just made up. Yet some of these alternate versions somehow managed to up that by being even more horrifying in their own unique ways. So with that in mind, let's jump into our list. Starting us off in at number 10, HYENA. What's scarier than the Joker? Well, how about a Joker combined with a homicidal beast of a villain known for his gruesome behavior? Enter HYENA from the Amalgam Universe, an alternate Earth that combines both Marvel and DC characters, merging them into one another. HYENA is the amalgamation of the Joker and Sabretooth from Marvel, with their stories being a very much intertwined origin story. He fell into some acid. And he's the greatest foe of Darkblood, the amalgamation of Batman and Wolverine, if that wasn't already a given. HYENA's real name is Creed Quinn, and along with Logan Wayne, he was a subject chosen to be part of the Weapon X program. Compared to Logan, though, Creed fully dived into the idea of being a living weapon, embracing it and becoming a remorseless and psychopathic killer obsessed with murdering Darkclaw. Up next, number 9, Batman BLOODSTORM. BLOODSTORM is an Elseworlds title that's actually a sequel to Batman and Dracula Red Reign. As you can imagine, is a story where vampires are very much involved. Taking place on Earth 43, BLOODSTORM sees the Joker become the leader of a group of vampires after said group's original leader, Dracula, was killed off in the previous story. With this newfound gang, the Joker manages to take control of all the major crime families in Gotham, prompting the vampire Batman and the werecat Selina Kyle to go after him. Unfortunately, Selina dies in the conflict, so Batman loses his crap and then gives into his bloodlust, drinking from the Joker. He doesn't turn the Joker into a vampire, though. Instead, he kills him, and because of it, Batman is tormented by the knowledge that the Joker won, driving him to finally kill. Speaking of killing, that brings us to our number 8, Earth 2's Joker. Earth 2 is the reality in which all of DC's Golden Age heroes were retroactively allocated after Crisis on Infinite Earths. As such, the Joker of this reality has aged quite a bit, and it's implied that he is the one who killed Bruce Wayne in this reality. If this is true, this is the only known Joker to have actually murdered Bruce Wayne, and that's pretty terrifying. While his battle against Batman continues by fighting off his successors, post-52, this Joker is depicted as a frail old man, wheelchair-bound thanks to a lifetime of exposure to deadly chemicals. And ironically enough, he's unable to laugh without physically hurting himself. Talk about justice. Speaking of justice, in at number 7, Digital Justice. The Digital Justice version of the Joker is a bit of a double whammy, and represents a different kind of terror that, in our technologically savvy reality, hits home in a way that's unique compared to the other Jokers on this list. The Joker from this story dies of old age, but not without leaving behind a legacy, and that legacy is something called the Joker virus, a sentient digital virus whose purpose was to carry on the Joker's work after he died. It's self-aware, and it claims to be a reincarnation of the original Joker. Now, the virus would go on to control most of human technology thanks to society's reliance on it, and a corrupt Gotham government. Its reign of terror is what pushed James Gordon II to become the Batman of this universe known as the Bat. And in order to stop it, he used something called the Batcom, a program created by the original Batman in order to eliminate threats like these. The story ends with the Joker virus and Batcom fighting it out digitally in a net mainframe until both completely delete their software. How very reboot. And while the visuals that depict said virus may be a little cheesy, the implications of its power is something we can easily wrap our heads around and fear. Up next, number 6, Martha Wayne. This one takes us to the Flashpoint universe, an altered timeline visited by the Flash in which his mother Nora is alive and his father Henry isn't. But that isn't the only difference between the regular universe and this reality. Flashpoint doesn't have a Justice League, or a Superman, or a Flash. As such, many of the characters we know and love in the DC universe have severely altered narratives. For example, Bruce Wayne is not Batman, which brings us to this alternate. On the night that Bruce's parents were supposed to be gunned down, the events played out differently in the Flashpoint universe, with the young Bruce being killed off instead. This pushed his father Thomas Wayne into becoming Batman and his mother Martha Wayne to devolve into becoming the Joker, and now they are each other's mortal enemy. Pretty freaky. Up next at number 5, the ARKHAMVERSE Joker. The Clown Prince of Crime is just as twisted and homicidal in the Batman video game universe as he is in the comics. Here we have an alternate version that's a pretty popular one, the version that appears in the Arkham Batman video game series by developer Rocksteady, and was initially voiced by Mark Hamill. As the primary antagonist for the most part in the series, he's up to his typical insanity as you'd expect. But towards the end of the first game, Arkham Asylum, he augments his physical form to become one of the most monstrous-looking versions of the Joker to date. This version is referred to as Joker Titan. He grows in size and muscle, being as tall as Killer Croc and with parts of his bones sticking out of his flesh. His fingernails are incredibly long and sharpened, and for some reason he's got a mohawk. While his appearance like this was highly criticized in the video game, and a lot of players felt it was a narrative cop-out, you gotta admit, he is pretty freaky looking. I don't know about you guys, but if I saw him walking down the street, I would definitely cross the road multiple times to a completely different intersection, miles away. Yep. In at number 4, we have Batman Two-Faces. This alternate version of the Joker isn't just the Joker in this 1998 Elseworlds comic book. He's also Batman. Let's backtrack for a sec though. Batman Two-Faces is a story based off of the Robert Louis Stevenson novel Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and is set in the Victorian era as Bruce Wayne fights against his once friend, now insane pal, Harvey Dent. Bruce is trying to purge his own evil while also trying to track down a serial killer by the name of Joker, who's been roaming the streets of 1888 Gotham. As you can imagine thanks to the time period, this version of the Joker pulls a lot of inspiration from Jack the Ripper, with most of his victims being prostitutes. Bruce formulates a potion to help cure Two-Face, but in the process tests it on himself, which causes him to turn into the Joker, at first without his knowledge. The story ends with Bruce turning himself into Commissioner James Gordon and fighting Two-Face as the Joker almost to the death, before turning himself back into Batman and then falling to his own death. The Joker also cripples Selina Kyle in the story, which actually brings us to our next number. In at 3, The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke, a one-shot graphic novel written by Alan Moore released in 1988, is one of the most iconic Joker stories to date. It provides an origin story for the character that was based off of the 1951 The Man Behind the Red Hood comic book story. And it's also famous for being the story in which Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, was paralyzed from the waist down. The reason why we find this Joker so terrifying and why he lands on our list is that this version really exhibits the lack of humanity and a love of sadism more viscerally than other alternates that we've seen. His actions are shocking, so much so that The Killing Joke still has implications and garners a response from readers to this very day. Remember the controversy surrounding the release of a Batgirl cover that was an homage to The Killing Joke? Yeah, people freaked out because of the sensitive subject matter it's referring to, the assault and paralysis of Barbara Gordon, and the cruelty towards women, in case you missed it. Alan Moore himself has actually commented on how morbid and ethically questionable the Joker's behavior is in that comic, and that's saying a lot. Up next, number 2, The Dark Knight Returns Joker from Earth 31. When we were first introduced to the Joker of Earth 31, the designated Earth for Frank Miller's Dark Knight series, it was after 10 years of being locked up inside of Arkham Asylum in a near catatonic stupor. During the story, news comes out that the Joker's conscious mind has resurfaced thanks to the care of the doctors at the facility. He claims that he is a victim of Batman's own psychosis, but turns out he's not actually cured. He's just manipulated the staff as part of a plan to get out. And at a public reveal for his recovery on a talk show, he ends up murdering all of the guests on live television and then takes hostages to a local carnival. It's an incredibly chilling scene to play out in the panels. Batman then tracks him down and they fight in the Hall of Mirrors and eventually into Gotham's sewers, where Batman paralyzes the Joker. But then the Joker gets the last laugh. He twists his own neck far enough to kill himself, framing Batman for his murder. Yikes. Side note, he also has a dragon tattoo on his back, which is only really seen on one of the covers from another tale from this Earth that takes place in an earlier timeline during Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin, particularly on the cover of All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder. Dragon tattoo, so edgy and evil. Well, not really evil, but yeah. And finally, in at number 1, The Dark Knight Strikes Again Joker from Earth 31. While The Dark Knight Strikes Again pales in comparison to its predecessor, it's still an impactful Batman tale from Frank Miller. Now, this version of the Joker isn't the Joker that we saw previously in our last number. Rather, it's an individual posing as a new Joker. And that individual is Dick Grayson. Yeah, some steep implications there. Released in 2001 with much more questionable art than the original, The Dark Knight Strikes Again depicts a Joker with supernatural powers and a healing factor. He kills numerous superheroes under orders of Lex Luthor, who now runs a dictatorial regime. Many of the superheroes can't believe their eyes, but they insist that this isn't the same Joker from years and years ago. And they're right, it's Dick Grayson, who Batman had fired and abandoned in the past. And now Dick specifically targets Batman's new partner, Carrie Kelly, out of jealousy. His disguise as the Joker was a way to emotionally taunt Batman before fully taking his revenge. Not only does Grayson's version version of the Joker really hit home for Bruce, but on the panels, he's terrifying to look at too. Whether or not that's a product of Miller's sloppy artwork in this graphic novel is, well, your call to make. Still scary. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other alternate versions of the Joker freak you out? Which one would you want to see get into another conflict with Batman? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know your thoughts and feels. If you dug this video, you folks know the drill. Hit that like button, share with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.